So this is the October general meeting at VanTUG, and we have Dahl from Longview Systems here to discuss Office 365. Welcome, Jeremy. You guys get my sit or should I be standing? Work for you guys. Can you still see me if I'm sitting? Yeah. Sure. Shot and see. I mean, I'll get up and walk around if I feel like. See how it goes. So a bit about me. I've been working in cloud and Office 365 for a couple years now, and the big thing about cloud and primarily Microsoft Cloud that's really drawn me is just the ability to be completely device independent, work anywhere, on anything, and be able to do what I need to do in an effective way. I mean, I love the fact that this laptop, my work laptop, it could die right now, and I'd put a new machine, and I'd rather have it weather down. I wouldn't have any kind of downtime or loss. Mind you, if the cloud goes away, then I'm in trouble. But there's more money invested in the cloud than there is invested in my laptop, so I think it's a pretty safe bet. And I try and cover my bases as well and make sure that I have backups and things like that to pull from as well. So it's not just, all of my eggs are not sitting in one basket. Moved over from Victoria recently. Last 8 months, I've been here in Vancouver working for Lync and Systems. It's been a big adjustment, but it's been great. I'm really enjoying it. As you already heard, I'm an Office 365 MVP. And really what that comes from is just from contributions to the community in terms of blogging is my primary avenue of what's gotten me the MVP, speaking like this when available, and writing different publications and things like that. From the cloud, like I said, I've been an MVP since January 2014. Been using Office 365 since the 2010 versions of everything, which they call Wave 14. And it's funny because when I started preparing, I pulled up a presentation that I did a little over a year ago, and I had a bunch of predictions of like, here's things that are coming, this sort of thing's going to happen. And it's just like, I could just check them all off. Not that I had any great insight, but just seeing what was happening and what Microsoft was doing and the push that they're making with cloud as a company. And it's just been really exciting to see what they've been doing because I think they have a tremendous vision and they pull it all together really nicely. So if you get a chance to talk to me for any length of time, you'll get that from me. Like I'm excited about it. Working in the cloud and working with cloud technology is something that I think is just phenomenal. And I talk about it a lot. So that's probably why I ended up getting rid of the MVP place to talk a lot. My blog is listed there. It's called masteringcommander.com. You can find my latest posts. I'm on Yammer. There's the Office 365 groups that are available there. LinkedIn and Microsoft forums. A little bit less with that. I'm a husband and father of 3 kids, so I don't have a lot of time to be on forums, posting and writing, but I do the best I can. So, to talk a bit about my cloud connection and what I use every day. Probably a lot of these things will be something you guys are used to, and you probably use a lot of them as well. Starting with OneDrive. And OneDrive is my primary source of everything. All my documents live there, all of my personal files. This is OneDrive, the personal edition. The one that you get 15 gigs for free, and you get Microsoft just throws storage at you for anything. I bought a Surface, and they gave me 200 gigs of storage. The storage is so cheap, and they're just giving it away as much as they can. That's great. I love it. OneDrive it's on almost every device. I think it's on Android, it's on iOS, it's on Windows, it's on Mac. It's all over the place. So anything I can connect to, and even if I can't get an application, I can connect to it in the browser, and I have all my stuff. And this OneDrive, I'd say, is probably my primary thing that enables me to be both device agnostic. I can use anything, and just completely free of whatever machine I use. So if I'm going somewhere and say they just hand me a computer and say, well, here you go. I log into OneDrive, and through OneDrive I have access to cloud versions of Office. I don't have Office installed. All my documents are there. Everything that I need that's relevant to me is there and ready to go. And within a matter of minutes, I can start working. I can start installing applications. I can do what I need and just start plugging away. SharePoint and OneDrive Business, or OneDrive for Business, it's gone through a few iterations of the name. They don't really seem to know what to call it. unfortunately it's a bit confusing because OneDrive and OneDrive and OneDrive for Business are three totally separate products. Even though I said the same thing twice, there's still something separate, and I'll talk a bit about that as well. So OneDrive for Business is where I keep all of my work documents, and I keep that separation so it's nice and clean. That way if I have sensitive client information or sensitive work information, it's not sitting in a public cloud. It is public still because it's sitting on Microsoft servers, but it's a more private cloud, it's more control, a lot more constraints. And that's, so between those two places is where I live and work every day. And then what ties it all together? My baby OneNote. OneNote is hands down my favorite program in the world. It's the one thing, the one program that has always kept me firmly sitting in Microsoft's camp. There was a time when I switched to being a Mac user before they had OneNote on the Mac, and I loved it, loved the Mac, still do. But there was no OneNote, and there was no browser version of OneNote yet. I mean, it feels like the dark ages just talking about it. But I've tried Evernote, I've tried every iteration of a program that is supposed to be like OneNote on the Mac, and just couldn't find anything that gave that functionality that OneNote has. And so I was always like, oh, I can use a Mac, but I gotta come back to Windows because I have OneNote and I have, then just the other applications that I use. Dropbox as well. I know there's other cloud storage out there. I know there's Box, Amazon provides storage, Google provides storage, everybody provides storage. Dropbox is the one I started with, and I up until I was preparing this presentation, I always thought that Dropbox was kind of neck and neck with OneDrive for me. And then I was looking through Dropbox as I was preparing this, and I realized that all I have in Dropbox is stuff that I haven't used in a while. So Dropbox has become kind of an archive for me, which I found kind of surprising, because I really, up to this point, thought that it was kind of neck and neck. But the one thing that Dropbox has that OneDrive doesn't have yet is the ability to share folders so easily. And I use this quite frequently with people. They share a folder with you from Dropbox, and it just appears in your Dropbox and starts syncing. And I really wish, I hope and pray that OneDrive picks that up, because when something is shared with you in OneDrive, have you guys experienced this? Do you use OneDrive? Know kind of what that's like? Let's say I share a file with you in OneDrive, it doesn't show up anywhere. You get an email saying that you've gotten it, that you've shared it, and if you click on the link, you can access what I've sent you, and you can use it. But that's it. So the only place you can find that you have a file that's shared with you is by going into the web version. So none of the clients have this. You have to go into the browser. Not even the Windows 8 Metro app either. This doesn't have it. You have to go to the browser, click on Shared, and then Shared with me, and then you can see where your file is. Which, it's unfortunate. It's a bit pledgy. And I really hope that they change that, because like I said, at Dropbox, you get a link, you click on it and accept the share, and all of a sudden it just pops up in your Dropbox folder, and it's there. You can drag and drop into it. You use it like a regular folder. That to me is just amazing. But that said, like I said again, I find that there's still not a lot of stuff in Dropbox that I'm using, and OneDrive is still king for me. Outlook 2013, Outlook Web Access. I mean, I've been on Office 2013 as soon as I could get my hands on a copy to install and play with, and I've been happy with it. I mean, they made some changes. It got very white. It got very flat. It got, I'm not a leading edge early adopter. I need stuff to work. So if it's super buggy, I'm going to back out of it and not use it. But pretty much as soon as I can get my hands on something new and I can try it, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to go on Windows 8. I'm going to try Windows 10. I'm going to do Office 2013. I'm going to try whatever new stuff comes out. And if I can use it and if I like it, I'll keep going with it. And that's what Office 2013 has been for me. Windows 8.1, I think Windows 8.1 has been the biggest thing that's made OneDrive absolutely sing. Because Windows 8.1, OneDrive is baked into it. It's now the default save location for your files. It's built into the file structure. It's not a separate application anymore, even though there is a Windows 8 Metro app. That is kind of weird, but built into Windows 8.1, OneDrive just works. It's there, you can pull it up easily, you can access it easily. It's just made OneDrive even better. Lync. Does anybody use Lync? Know of it? Yeah, good. I mean, Lync, Skype, Lync for Business, or Skype for Business, however you want to call it. I mean, when Microsoft took over the Skype technology and then they put out Lync as an upgrade to OCS. It's been great. I've done Lync stuff. Yeah. I think we'll just go ahead. I'm comfortable asking questions.
So literally, I believe that one node, in fact, I just started using it yesterday.
Oh, right. Congratulations.
In fact, I was looking forward to hearing about the presentation. One thing that I've heard, I started looking around, and I believe the problem with Windows 8.1, I'm not sure if you've heard about this, is that there's this unbreakable tie to your login, Microsoft login. You can't have if I set up a box for testing like I have with the local account, you can't use OneNote. Is that true? Yeah, it is. You don't know why that.
You can use OneNote.
Apparently, Windows 7, 8, not 8.1, it works. It's like a Dropbox or Google Drive or something. And with 8.1, it's tethered to your live account. You cannot log in with a local account. I was just wondering if I was new to it and get no workaround.
So in Windows 8.1, you can set up an account that's not the Microsoft account.
Sure.
But then that OneNote doesn't. It doesn't link from that.
And you can't open your OneNote. What happens? I've actually never heard that before.
You run runtime error or something.
What do you know?
Yeah, it worked in previous versions.
Okay.
And when people who had it running on 8, did the 8.1 upgrade.
Right. I guess that would be a scenario where you, like you said, you're not using your Microsoft account, and that's actually something that we're driving. I just kind of dialed it in as soon as I got Windows 8 running and haven't looked back.
Some people don't like using Microsoft.
Yeah, fair enough.
It just smells like a marketing thing where they want you to buy into their system so that, I don't know, you get hooked onto the store.
Yeah, but you're buying into the ecosystem, and that's the thing. The Microsoft ecosystem that OneDrive ties into so nicely is it's really what ties everything together. Because from OneNote, from OneNote I can open multiple OneNote notebooks that are on SharePoint, they're on personal OneDrive, OneDrive for business, ones that have been shared with me, and that's all enabled through my Microsoft account. So to be honest, I wouldn't even think of trying to use it without it, because it would cripple so much of the functionality for me. And that's the ability to synchronize my information across everything that I touch.
And the point that others have complained about, again on new entities, it was working fine under Windows 7. Right? And they intentionally broke it.
Without having an avenue to synchronize, though, I don't think OneNote really had that sync functionality in Windows 7 or Windows 8, unless you had something to sync it with. Although I could see having a notebook saved in your Dropbox or OneNote or whatever, or OneDrive or whatever, and then you could open that in different locations. But yeah, I think with the change to how the cloud connection works in all of the Microsoft products, I'd say it's probably pretty intentional they made it so that it only works like that. And in terms of buying into their store really doesn't have much going on for it. I have a Surface 2, the RT version, the dead RT version, and I like it. It works great, but the App Store is just still nothing there. It's like I open up the App Store every now and again, I refresh it. Is there something there yet? No. 10 minutes later, I'm like, maybe there's a new app. Try again. No, there's nothing. Off we go. Yeah, no problem. And then CrashPlan. That's not a Microsoft product, but I figured I'd add it in there because CrashPlan is this great online backup program. And there's a bunch out there. CrashPlan is just the one that I like the most. And they're $5 a month for unlimited storage. Sign me up, take my money. Now that is for one computer only, so if you want to do multiple computers, their family plans like $15 for 10 computers or something like that. But I've been using it for a few years. You set it, forget it, it backs in no time. It's saved my life so many times. I've had clients and friends save their data time and time again. So
they rental on that?
No, just documents or file like this.
Where's CrashPlan located?
Yeah, for sure. Pardon?
Where's CrashPlan located?
Good question. I don't know. The cloud. The nebulous cloud. It's up there somewhere.
So I have two questions. The first one is, in Microsoft Windows 8, like the OneDrive is like the default, like cloud where you can upload your files. Later on, like would you have like an option of maybe instead of being OneDrive, it could be like Dropbox, it could be like Google Drive, like instead of being just OneDrive. And also, the second question is, because of so many different ways of uploading your files to the cloud, I don't know if in the future, like OneDrive, you could, for example, import, like, files from Dropbox or, from various sources.
And synchronize them?
Yeah, synchronize.
Yeah. That's something I've looked into because I would love to put my Dropbox data in and keep it relevant because I like the idea of having one folder that I click on that has everything inside of it. But I haven't found a way of doing it yet, and it probably never will.
If this then that does exactly that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I have multiple cloud accounts set up, and while I'm traveling, I would upload my photos into my Dropbox, which has no space, and then once it's all there, I happily move them to my OneDrive account, my box.com account.
Does it move them or copy them?
It copies them, and then once the copy is successful,
That's cool. And that's through the website of this, right? Like that's
so
what do you call it? A framework? I don't know how you describe it. If you haven't heard of it before, you can go to I think it's imtt.com. Just Google it, this and that, and it's pretty cool. I've used it a few times, but never really gotten too much into it. But to answer your first question, you can install any cloud product on Windows 8.1 and have a sync client just like you used to have. It's really just that they've actually given you shortcuts and they've really presenced OneDrive a lot more in Windows 8. So it doesn't really get rid of everything else if you can have all of your cloud programs syncing at the same time and they'll all just kind of merely do their thing. I stopped using Google Drive a while back because I've kind of over the time fallen out with Google and don't really have a lot to do with them anymore. Just over the time, Microsoft, the products have been getting better and the way they do things has gotten better. I think when they released Outlook.com as the upgrade to Hotmail was a big thing for me with Microsoft for personal stuff. It really just kind of pulled me in. And, they did away with the whole thing that Google does of searching your emails and tracking advertising and that kind of stuff. Microsoft are very blatant about that they don't do that. That's their big differentiator. And I'm sure they do other things that are equally as nasty in the background, but that was one thing that I liked. I didn't like seeing advertisements in my inbox and having them going through my emails. And having Microsoft offer a really nice, clean alternative. I went there for Outlook, and then I started tapping OneDrive, and then they added more services, and that's, I'll get into that a bit more in further down, but that's the thing with Microsoft is that there's something that pulls you in, and for most people it's email. So when we get into Office 365, for a lot of people, Exchange online or email is the thing that pulls them in. So they can get rid of their Exchange servers, or they can reduce their infrastructure, and they look at the cost of licensing and everything like that compared to having Office 365, and they'll buy in just for Exchange alone. And then once they get there, they're like, oh, we have Office, we have SharePoint, we have Lync, and they just start to just taste away at all the other things that Microsoft has. And it's not for everybody. I mean, it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all scenario, but there's lots of good things there that people get into. Now, I've pulled these screenshots off of one of Microsoft sites because I just like it so much. It's 5 little things that they have, and this is on the Office 365. They call it Success Center, and I've linked it in the end of my slide for you guys to take a look at it. But the cloud and Office 365, it really summarizes it quite nicely. It's about get it done from anywhere, being able to work on anything, anytime. I remember I was coming across on the ferry from Victoria one morning, and I was heading to a client to do an Office 365 migration. And while I was on the ferry, I was tethering off my iPhone. I was opening up PowerShell, connecting to Exchange Online in PowerShell, provisioning users and setting passwords and policies. And I just sat there for a minute and I was like, this is freaking amazing. I'm sitting here on a ferry, tethered to my phone, connecting through PowerShell to massive server infrastructure and doing whatever I want. And that to me is just, that sums up kind of that whole cloud ideology that just makes it so appealing to me. all I need is an internet connection and I'm good to go. And I don't even need an internet connection all the time, so there's things I can do offline as well. But I mean, today is a perfect example. Again, a friend of mine that I work with, he is on vacation down in Mexico. He got something, got an email, got it on his device, and actually I probably sent it right there. And he popped up and he's on Lync and he's answering questions and we're talking and we're collaborating and he's in Mexico on vacation. And he took 15 minutes, we chatted a bit, he answered the questions and he's gone back to the beach. And it's like, I love it. I love it. I can do that anywhere in the world. All I need to know is I can get on the internet at some point. I can get into Lync, I can get into SharePoint, I can get into Outlook, I can get into OneDrive. All these things I need to do. Sharing and syncing, OneDrive again. Again, I just need an internet connection, I can get my files. I love it. You know? Talking about pictures, since I bought my Surface and Microsoft Drawing Storage app, I started uploading all my pictures into OneDrive because from my wife taking pictures, we have about 150 gigs of pictures, which I haven't seen in ages because there's just like 30,000, 40,000 pictures in there. Like, who's gonna look at those, right? But I threw them into OneDrive, so I'm sitting on the couch and I pull them up on my Surface and I'm browsing through them and I'm looking at stuff and I'm like, this is awesome. I don't have to try and go and find whatever program she's got on the computer that she's looking at them in and dig them out or search through folders. It gives me a new way of accessing my data that's relevant. And again, I can do it anywhere, on anything.
The question is, if you have been previously regular Windows user, I had small business server, at home posted, now I'm on the Microsoft 365. I got OneDrive. I'm looking at my storage at about 400 gigs. How many years is it going to take me to upload 400 gigs from my phone to the cloud?
I know. You know, I've had varying results of that. To be honest, this last patch I'm trying to upload all my photos, it's just been taking forever. And I don't know why it is. But, you know, whatever. They're sitting on my computer. I'm not missing them. They're there, so I'll just let it tick away. But no, I agree. If there was there's a scenario that I needed to have something uploaded quickly, and you know, you're right. There are challenges with that.
The initial move from being local user to cloud user.
I'd probably just take them all on USB drive to work where we have this big fat pipe and put them all there. I don't know why the network's slow. I don't know what's going on. Don't tell anybody.
Maybe they should offer bulk transfer.
Yeah, they should. I agree. The crash plan, the backup.
You know, you only use them once or twice a year, maybe. You can upload at a good price. I think it would be a good money maker.
I agree. Yeah, Crash Plan and other backup providers like that, they have services like that where if you've got terabytes of data and you know it's going to take you 14 weeks to 2 years to upload it all, you can just send them your drive and they'll upload it for you and you're done. Same with recovery as well. I don't think Microsoft offers that. Maybe in Windows Azure they do. In fact, I know they do for Windows Azure. You can, for provisioning large amounts of data or VMs and stuff like that, you can send them your hard drives. Although for some reason I don't think they go across the border. I think it's only in the States they do that. I could be wrong. I remember hearing about it in some presentation and remembering that. There was everybody was just kind of laughing at the fact that we can drive down to Redmond in a matter of hours, but we just can't get a hard drive across the border.
All you need is a fiberglass connection.
That'd be nice. I'd like one of those to my house, please. That takes you.
One vendor sells 1 terabyte, $10.
Is that just cloud storage?
Yeah.
You know, storage has just gotten so cheap.
Upload.
Yeah, I love it. The more the merrier. Give us more bandwidth and more storage. I don't think I'd rather that. I'll use as much as they give me.
It's too bad it's not symmetric, but Shaw has some terrific bandwidth.
I was absolutely shocked one night when I was trying to upload, I believe it was 2 point some odd gigs of data through my Shaw connection at home. And I was getting upload speeds of somewhere in the neighborhood of 400, 450. And I was just absolutely floored. And I was uploading it to a server that I knew could take that. I knew that the download side on that server was no problem. But my upload was just like, holy crap! It was faster than the download. Every so often, Shaw will do this surprise.
So like a double rainbow. It's amazing.
They didn't have any traffic then.
That's right.
It was about two.
Everyone is probably watching soccer or something. Maybe it's during World Cup. Oh, nice. If that's the answer for fast beats, 2 o'clock in the morning. That's all the good stuff happens.
I'm trying to run.
Yeah, that's right. Let us know what happens.
Actually, corner gig won't take that long.
400 gig.
Running effective meetings, this is something with Lync. And I've had a few moments like this that have just really been where you just kind of sit there and you're like, this is amazing that we can do this. And Lync is one of those, because I was working on a presentation and it was with some guys from Microsoft. And I needed answers to what they give me. I had questions about it. And the guys that wrote the presentation that I got one was in Spain, one was in Portugal. Or not Portugal, Spain and Italy. And so we set up a Lync meeting, and there's 4 guys in 4 different countries, 3 different time zones, and we're just all talking together. Sharing my screen, we're collaborating, we're looking at notes, we're looking at the PowerPoint, typing things. One of them was recording it in Lync, and so I had that later to go back up, so I didn't have to write notes as I was going. And it's just one of those things about just how all this technology ties together that just continuously blows me away. Because it's just not something that would be possible even a few years ago to be able to work like that, where these guys are in different countries and just working across borders and time zones and everything like that. It's just amazing.
How do most of them these people completely different?
How do you guys run?
How do most of them? We have Lync at work, but they're all same Active Directory.
Right.
That's what my Active Directory is about. How do I go somebody from privately from another world? Just email address.
If your Lync is federated. If it's open to external federation, then anybody else who has Lync on their own premise, then you can connect with them. But there are ways of locking down and securing Lync that keeps it only to people that are internal. But my company thankfully has always been open, so I can, you can add my email address and I'll pop up on Lync. You can see my presence.
Just like email address.
Yeah. Provided, of course, that email address is your Lync address as well. Okay? But as long as Lync is open and provisioned that way, then anybody that has Lync as well, you should be able to find them.
Office 365 by Microsoft Outlook.
Yes.
And you can just start with that same Microsoft Outlook.
Yep. And the Lync that comes with Office 365, the only thing that it doesn't do is direct PBX or telephone replacement. Because that requires a SIP trunk and it requires a provider, it requires servers. They don't really have a direct connection yet, at least not in Canada. I know they have one provider that I know in the States that gets horrible reviews. Every time I see it, it's just pages of people are very unhappy with their service. But the theory behind what they offer is that you can just basically take their service and plug it into Office 365 and start dialing numbers or start dialing phone numbers and receiving calls. But it's by no means ready to go yet. To this point, having Lync and being able to actually call phones and answer on a number requires having servers on premise. So Lync in Office 365 is going to be for you can do link-to-link calls just like Skype, and you can do conferencing, you can do video, you can do a lot of the functionality. Yeah, you just can't have a phone number and have somebody dial you or dial out your phone number to calls. But it's enough that it will do the majority of things it needs to do, and even working day to day, working for a company that we have Lync servers, we have Cisco servers, we have all the infrastructure. I don't have a handset at my desk. I just have my phone. I have headphones or headset. It's all I ever use. Every time they put a phone, I get tucked away so nobody wants to use it. I don't want to use it. I like that. Work like the network. We're going to talk a bit about Yammer further down the chain here. Yammer, it's a bit interesting, and I'll talk a bit more about it later. But what I do like about where Microsoft is going is again just how everything connects together, and I'll talk about it when I get into things like Dahl. It's pretty cool. So I picked out a few things for the next couple of slides that I thought were new over the last few months that were noteworthy. So forgive me if you've seen some of these. Hopefully some of these will be new to you guys. OneNote, free and available on everything. Absolutely everything. Not just nearly everything. I don't really pay attention to BlackBerry, so I don't know if BlackBerry's got it. So forgive me if you're a BlackBerry user, I don't know what's there. But it's free on Mac, it's free on Windows, it's free in the cloud, it's free on Android, on iOS, it's free on everything, almost everything. And again, what we talked about earlier, connecting it to OneDrive, or OneDrive for Business, you know, it does limit you in that you have to be tied into their ecosystem. But what it gives you, I think, is just amazing. Just, you know, synchronization across all your devices, sharing with other people, integration with the rest of the platforms. It's just, I can't stop talking about it enough. It's honestly one of my favorite programs out there. They released Office for iPad and Android. I thought that was super cool. I've tried using it on the iPad a few times. I installed it on my wife's iPad mini, and I don't know, it's using the screen. I see it as being a consumer type device. So I will review documents and make really minor edits, but I'm still not going to sit down and really do work on an iPad. So it's still great to have it. And that was one of the things that made the Surface the go-to for me, is that it's got the kickstand and the keyboard, and I can actually sit and type. Still cool though. Big fan of it. Yammer integration. How many people have used Yammer here? Or know of it? Yammer is what they call it enterprise social, and it's been described as Facebook for business. There's a lot of collaboration built into it, and they bought it for $1 billion a year or two ago. And they've really been trying to work it into everything they're doing. And the adoption has been really slow. I mean, it's even myself using it as somebody who's generally quite excited about Microsoft products, I struggle with it. Mind you, I dislike Facebook and all things social like that, so that might have something to do with it. But you'll see some of the features it has are still pretty cool, and over the next few months and years, we'll see some really cool things coming out of that. And they're tying it in really nicely into Office 365. It used to be that you had newsfeed in Office 365 from SharePoint, and that was very limited because it required a lot of effort for people to actually put stuff there that you could see, and was pretty much ignored universally. Yammer does have a lot more use than that, so finally being able to actually tie it into Office 365 and them actually getting closer and closer to having a unified experience between Office 365 and Yammer is cool to see. And like I said, I'll talk a little more about Yammer in a little bit. Outlook Web Access, it just gets better and better and better and better. And honestly, there's times when I look at Outlook and I'm like, I don't even know if I should use you anymore. Because it's just things that you don't do. It's you're looking kind of old, girl. You know, it's time to change. But
as a help desk person, I mean, nobody called me about web access. Called me about Outlook.
yeah.
And that's basically, well, your Outlook. So use the web client.
That's right. Use the web client and resync, fix profiles, and fix all kinds of stuff.
The only thing is that if they've got multiple mailboxes, they, with their Outlook 2010, or with the web access they just have the one mailbox. Okay. You have to switch.
Yeah. Right. Open the mailbox.
Open it. So you don't see it all at once like you do with Outlook. Other than that.
Although that is changing in 2013, I think. I'm pretty sure. I don't have to check, because I'm pretty sure I've given people access to other mailboxes, just had to show up in Outlook Web Access. But I have to check that now. Don't quote me on that, because I could be wrong. But I know definitely, you open another mailbox and get at it that way, but they just keep on implementing more and more things in Outlook Web Access. I mean, document collaboration, groups and conversations, and then Dahl and Office Graph. These are all things I'll go into a bit more depth, but these are things that they're working on and that are being implemented. Dahl is something that's pretty cool, and I'm not going to talk about it for another couple of slides, but I am going to go into it because it's something that actually really, really excites me, what they're doing with it. And I encourage you to watch some of the videos that Microsoft put out about what Dahl does. It's the kind of thing that if somebody told you about it 10 years ago, you'd think it was magic. Like, how on earth does that happen? Because it is pretty crazy. Sending OneDrive links as attachments. One thing, that has always just driven me absolutely nuts is sharing files from a file server. And people are sending you attachments and you're editing them and you're sending them back. There's 19 different versions and you can't tell who's got what or which one's the most current. And one of the guys I used to work for used to call it one source of truth. And that's what SharePoint was for us, one source of truth. Everything lives in SharePoint. You never send a file to anybody. You always just send a link to somebody and they edit that file. And that's just getting more and more tightly knitted into OneDrive and Outlook Web Access. Which is pretty awesome.
So for document collaboration, you're basically talking about SharePoint, right?
Yes and no. Because OneDrive for Business, yes, is SharePoint, but Outlook Web Access can also pull directly from OneDrive, from your own personal OneDrive. So that's cloud storage as opposed to SharePoint. So yes, we're talking about SharePoint, but we're also just talking about, install OneDrive and start using it, and you can start integrating from there and collaborating on documents. And OneDrive is the secret sauce that allows you to do real-time co-authoring, where two or more people can work on a document at the same time and edit it at the same time without having to email back and forth or save and refresh. It just all works magically.
So does OneDrive for Business require an Office 365 subscription?
That or SharePoint on-premise.
Or SharePoint on-premise?
Yeah, one of the two. It's SharePoint basically. So
yes.
You have to have SharePoint in some form, or you have to have OneDrive for Business.
Okay.
Azure.
The personal version of OneDrive? That would make sense. That's good. Because OneDrive is awesome. OneDrive for Business. Well, I'll talk a bit more about that. 1 terabyte of OneDrive for Business storage. That was kind of a big thing, especially because when you get Office 365, in terms of storage, you get 10 gigabytes for your entire tenancy, and then 500 megabytes for every user. So it adds up pretty quickly. And then at one point they said, okay, we're going to give you OneDrive for Business, and everybody gets 6 gigs or 7 gigs or something like that. And that was pretty cool. And then they're like 20 gigs. And now they're just like, have a terabyte. Everybody gets a terabyte. It's just so much space. And it's awesome. I love it. Oh, and also I saw just recently that they announced that you can actually share files from OneDrive for Business up to 10 gig in size, which is pretty cool. So you think about attachments and running into limits in exchange about what size attachments you can send. It just goes out the window because you can attach. That's almost a Blu-ray movie. Yeah, you can share anything out of there, and all you're doing is sharing a link. You're not emailing that back and forth. You're taking traffic off the web. You're saving the world, really. Is what you're doing. You're saving the world.
I got a dollar at some point.
But it's not going through your servers, and that's the key thing. That's really where you're saving the world, making everybody happy. Sharing files directly from OneDrive, they've announced this, but I haven't seen it yet, even though I refresh OneDrive all the time to see if it's come yet. But what it'll basically do and bake into your Windows experience is you can right-click on a file and share it from OneDrive, and it'll just generate a link. Right now, if you share a file in your OneDrive, it goes to the website, and then you generate the whole sharing experience from there. So that's going to be getting better and better, and I'm happy for that. Document conversations in SharePoint and OneDrive Business. This is tying back into Yammer, so we'll talk a bit more about it. But basically, with files that you have in OneDrive or OneDrive Business, the whole, again, back to the ecosystem, how Microsoft is tying everything together. When you pull up a document to work on it, you can see, you can get a lot of feedback really quickly because it's tying into Yammer, which is the social network, and you can actually get information without having somebody wait for it, email a file back and forth, and that's going to be cool, easy to see. Some other things are coming in Office 365, custom themes. I thought this was pretty cool too because the Office 365 logo, you can never get rid of it, no matter what you do, you always have their logo and their color schemes. And users could always pick a few different color schemes in Outlook, like Outlook Web Access, but now you can completely reskin Office, provided that your reskin involves a white page with a color, because that's what you can change basically. It's still overall the same, but you can add your logo, you can add your colors, you can really brand it and make it your own. They changed the Office 365 admin center, really tied everything together nicely. And I didn't ask before, how many people here use OneDrive, or not OneDrive, Office 365 administer? 2, 3, you guys, yeah. So if you haven't started seeing these changes yet, you probably will see them soon. If if there's a feature in Office 365 you've heard about that you haven't seen, check to see if you have you call it first release, pre-release. They have something. They have a setting you can turn on that gives you access to things as they come out, or a lot quicker than the general release. What's that? They don't even really call it beta anymore. I mean, their development stream is so fast now. And I was listening to a presentation on this, and it used to be that when it came to doing patches and roll-ups and Exchange and SharePoint, they'd do like one a quarter. Like they'd have this really long, you'd think well-tested, maybe not always well-tested. It was seen when they released it for a while, but they'd have this development phase that would be a good length of time when you see updates coming out once or twice a year, or 3 times a year. Now they are literally making changes to their code on a weekly basis. It's just mind-boggling to think of how short their development cycle is. So there's always new things that they're trying, and they're rolling it out and rolling it back, and they're doing all kinds of fun stuff. So the good thing about the pre-release stuff is that you can turn it on, and it doesn't just break everything. You don't automatically get new features that destroy your environment. But obviously with Office 365, any one of us can just go to the website and sign up for a 50-day trial, take a shot, play with features, and turn it off and let that trial go away. So that's another good way of playing with new things as they come out. The top navigation bar, they've changed that to allow you to customize it now, so you can remove things that you don't want your users to see, which is great because you can, oftentimes businesses will have requirements and things that they don't want users to be able to do, like OneDrive, like Yammer, or have access to SharePoint sites, things like that. You can actually customize it now. Because nothing's worse for a user than seeing things that they can't get. And they click on something and it goes to a page saying, you don't have access. That's just frustrating. Nobody wants that. Even I get those from time to time, and I hate it. It just drives me crazy. The Office 365 roadmap is it's posted there, office.com/roadmap. It's pretty cool. They have the features that are currently in development, that are out in the wild, things that they're working on, things that they canceled. You can see a lot of cool things there, and it's definitely worth checking out from time to time to see new things. All right. This is kind of my thing these days. Audio-intensive hybrid. Yay. Somebody likes it. You see, when Satya Nadella gave his speech after coming on with Microsoft, he was mobile first and cloud first. And that's his vision for Microsoft. Which again I think is really cool because of where they're driving technology, where they're driving change. And as a me, does anybody else think that this guy looks like Steve Jobs? He reminds me of Steve Jobs. I think he's honestly going to be the next kind of big visionary Steve Jobs kind of guy that comes out and makes people excited. I don't know if he'll get people cheering for iTunes updates like Steve Jobs did, but still, I'm impressed with him. I like what he's doing, where he's going.
Satya Nadella has made a much more open Microsoft.
Yeah, I agree.
Huge improvement.
He's definitely a breath of fresh air from all the wrong, for sure.
Did you know that you can download now the Windows 10 preview?
Yeah, we're talking about it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Now, the cloud is so funny because so few people actually understand what the cloud is, and it's a buzzword, and it's like, the cloud is. You asked earlier, where's your backup program? Like, where there's your cloud, right? It's up there somewhere, right? They're in the cloud. But the way I like to explain it is the cloud is just my services on somebody else's service. So Office 365 is just Exchange, it's SharePoint, it's Lync, and it's just sitting on Microsoft servers. Same with OneDrive and their storage. It's just storage in somebody's data center that looks kind of like this, but much, much bigger. And they just manage it all. Plain and simple. The cloud is not something that we as technology people need to be afraid of, because it doesn't mean that that all of our jobs are going away. If you work in technology and you manage servers and you manage services, the cloud isn't going to take away your business. I remember when Windows 7 came out, people were like, oh man, we're not going to need text anymore. Windows 7's out. We won't need text. Well, we still do. We need them even more than ever. Right? And having cloud services doesn't mean that all of us are all of a sudden redundant because nobody has servers anymore. Because it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You can't walk up to every business and just say, hey, let's take you to the cloud. there's so many things to consider. There's so many intricacies. There's requirements for privacy, security, and there's things that can't go to the cloud. And there's always going to be things to do that are going to incorporate servers, physical hardware sitting in somebody's data center or sitting in somebody's office.
With regard to the cloud, is there any standard that requires a certain number of redundancies to all of the data centers?
I wouldn't be surprised if there is, and I say that way because I've never actually seen something like that. But if you go to the Microsoft Trust Center, I believe it's called, they have pages and pages and pages of legal tech documents that bore me to tears talking about things like that. But I know that, like, for what Microsoft, they have geo-redundant data centers that have, I believe they have three, but I know they have more. They have 3 local copies of your data, and then that's synchronized with 3 data centers. What's that? I don't think they don't synchronize across the water. So they're all of their. Yeah, it's all in the States. Europe and Asia, I'm not really sure how they manage that, but I know, like, our closest data center is down in Washington, and it gets synchronized across to down California and also somewhere east. So they do have multiple copies, and if you want to watch a really cool video, Mark Rusanovich, who you might know from those awesome tools. Yeah, that guy. Super smart guy. He does this amazing video, and I've actually posted on my blog some time back about how Windows Azure heals itself, and that is pretty cool. Like, we're talking the Matrix type stuff here, where Azure can detect things that have broken down and repair it without human intervention. It's just, again, it feels like science fiction, but this is the world we live in, right? It's crazy stuff, and you kind of get a sense of how they have multiple copies of things that they can bring online and how failovers that happen really quickly. But to answer your original question, I don't know if there's any actual standards that say you must have this many copies of data. I know there are standards of geo-redundancy, where it has to be a certain number of kilometers away from the original source for not data recovery, but disaster recovery. But that's the only one that I really know.
That means that there's all these copies of all your files out there, multiple copies. Is there a chance that any of them could get distorted or compromised?
I would say that's probably the biggest concern.
And that's the message. We've got to find some way of getting the fact that there is backups, first of all, redundancy, but there's also some protection against distortion or correct errors in the data that for the public to get confident in the system.
Now, for the actual back end, they do have a tremendous amount of checks and balances to make sure that they're not keeping any corrupted instances of your data, and to sense the corruption and delete it out and just create a new copy. But what that won't do is it won't fix corruption that you have introduced into the system. Like somebody in Active Directory who makes a mess of things, deletes a bunch of stuff. In a matter of minutes, if you're synchronizing your directory into Office 365, those changes get synced up, and then synced across to everything. And then how do you get back from that?
There used to be check bits. Remember those days?
Check bits, yeah.
You don't have that when they're making multiple copies here, do you?
I don't know. I don't know if it works exactly the same. But I mean, they do put a lot into it, into preserving the integrity of your data and the security of your data. And it gives you, I say this to people all the time. They ask me, how can we have your backups in the cloud? Like, come on. What if that company gets hacked, or what if something happens? Like, my alternative is having a hard drive. I have a Western Digital 1 terabyte hard drive that I plug in the back of my son. I've got 3 kids. That thing has fallen so many times. Right? They put more effort into maintaining my data and security and everything than I ever will. Because I just tuck that thing on a shelf and plug it in when I need it, copy it and put it away, and just cord stretched across the living room and put everything on it. This is their business. They put a lot more effort into securing and protecting your information than I ever would have done personal stuff.
I actually wanted to mention the former IT guy, this backup and redundancy is very important. I mentioned how I was using OneNote for the first time this year. And the reason is I was actually switching from Google Drive. Because one appalling thing that I found with Google Drive yesterday, and I wanted to maybe ask you about OneNote, is I've been for years storing all kinds of information in the Google Docs. Well, it turns out you can't have a backup of that. I actually had the Google Drive sync thing going. I thought it was merely synced to my home infrastructure. Well, it turns out that each Google Doc is actually a link back to Google. And so none of the information that I had, that I thought was back in was actually there. So and here's the scenario where that could ruin everything for the cloud. If someone takes over your Google account and see you capture your password and take it, that's it. You have no recourse to get back your data. And so I wanted to follow up with that.
Yeah.
And it looked like from my preliminary investigation that OneNote is caching. There's some information on my PC. Is that true? Or
It depends.
How can I protect myself against
Offline files.
Yeah, that's what it depends on. I wouldn't be surprised if is there not a setting in Google Drive that tells us to cache things offline?
Each file. They have something called Google Takeout,
Right.
which if you check all the boxes, and I did that last night, they will, over a matter of days, that's what they say, they'll accumulate and give you a big zip file that you can download. Well, I clicked that last night, and today it still hasn't.
Your own file?
Yeah.
I remember.
Sorry. My own files are I do have a copy, but the equivalent of the OneNote notes, which is a Google Doc, there is no copy of it.
The key for that is using offline files. Or in Windows 8.1, it shows a little context beside it that says available offline, and that's something that with OneDrive, getting all my ones from the center, OneDrive, that they've changed in Windows 8.1 is that you have the option now of making files online only, which is great on my Surface because I can see hundreds of gigabytes of stuff without it actually being on my Surface until I access it and then pull down a copy. So even then when you access it, it does pull a copy down. But the typical behavior out of the box is that you have an online copy, which is why even if I lose my internet connection, really all I'm missing all the web stuff, but I still have my files and I can access them. So
that's automatic by default.
Check to make sure though, because I mean it's how I experience it. But again, I think they're putting logic in everything on the device you're using. I think if you're using a PC, it's fine. It's just all there.
So simple test for my Android phone says that it's there. Download.
Yeah, I think your Android will be accessing online copy though. Or does it pull it down? Yeah, maybe. That would be the thing.
And I want that. I
Yeah.
want that. I'm not happy with Google. Everything's on their cloud.
Yeah. And the thing with Google too is to me, it just seemed like they'll just give up on stuff so quickly. Like Google Reader. Did anybody use Google Reader when they killed it? Oh, I wept bitter tears when Google Reader went away. I love that program there. And then all of a sudden they're just like, we're done with this. Just pull all your stuff up in a month. We're going to just delete everything. And then I had to use the Google Takeout service, and I just never looked back. I was like, you know what? You burned me too many times. Like I was excited about Google Wave, and it went nowhere. You know, like I actually bought a Gmail invite way back in the day. I bought it for like $5 on eBay. A Gmail invite. Like that's how many I had. I was so excited. And I was just like, you just keep turning off things that I use that people love, and it just seems like they're like, we're just done with this now. And Microsoft to me has more of a solidity, which makes me a bit happier.
You haven't paid for anything with Google, so they don't feel any obligation to keep providing that service.
Yeah, and they've been happily using your information data for years too. So.
Can I just one question? Is that one thing that has always bothered me since I've been a Hotmail user since way back. They had this policy where you need to use your account for some period of time. That was it.
Right.
And And so I'm a little worried about, this still Microsoft, but I may relax that. As an example, I have Google accounts, because I create many of them, like every form I try, I actually create a different Google account sometimes. Just because I want to have them in separate silos. And I don't know, how 8 years, I can still log into my one of those cryptic Gmail accounts, and all the files, all the messages are still there. I was burned, I don't know whether it changed, I was burned recently with Outlook.com. I had a little Outlook.com account. 6 months. That was it. All my messages gone. Because I had not signed in 6 months. Now, sure, that was my fault.
That seems rather
I'm just saying that, what happened? 6 months?
Yes, that's surprising.
So that was a throwaway account. Didn't care. But if I had all my photos,
yeah, it was important.
OneNote, OneDrive, that's actually why I didn't want to bore you. Like, people are resistant to using tied into a one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A live account. 6 months, and that was last year. So
I think that's when it's like free. When you pay for it, then it's
agreed, yeah, in Office 365, they'll keep taking your money, till the end of time, and not say anything. Like, they're not going to stop you from paying the money. So they just won't say anything. It's kind of sucking the dry, right? But, I don't know. I mean, that kind of scenario is not typically used. I mean, I log into my account every single day. So a throwaway account, maybe 6 months and they cut it off, I don't know. One thing that I love about Outlook, and this is another thing that really drew me in quickly, so that with Outlook you can create aliases like you can in Exchange. In Gmail you can't. In Gmail, the way to create an alias is create an account. And then set it to suck and forward or stuff like that. It's like, come on, man. You can't create an alias, you can't just say I want to be Jeremy.Dahl as well as J-Dahl. Anyway, no more about Google. I love them, but I love them more from a distance. Google search, as soon as Google search starts to tank, then I'm complete with that. Because really that's the only big thing for me anymore with Google is their search. Oh, yeah, we talked about this. Backup and retention. To this point, and if I'm wrong, somebody knows great, but there is no real solid backup of your data when it's sitting in Office 365. And that's scary. Microsoft has got retention and geocache copies all over the place, geo-redundant copies, and that's great. But their SLAs for your data being available, it's a monetary SLA. It's like if your data goes and you lose, the last 3 years of your business, oops, they'll reimburse you, I don't know, like a month or two of your service. That to me is a little scary.
Just call NSA.
Call it what?
Call NSA.
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 I get all my emails from the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So do you not have a copy of your data in your local
Yes, you do.
Emails?
But I mean, your offline copy of your emails, if you have to catch it just right in order to preserve it. Like you have to know before you open Outlook that your email is gone in order to disconnect it so Outlook opens up just the offline copy. Because as soon as Outlook opens up and detects that it's online, it's going to synchronize whatever it sees on the server. So if the server is empty, you can sit there and just watch all of your email, gigs and gigs and gigs, just vanish without any chance of recovery. So yes, you do have an offline copy, but you have to know that things are gone bad in order to save it. Otherwise, if you open it up and you sync, you're just gone. So
that's strange. They haven't thought about kind of protocol to avoid that.
Well, they do, in their defense, they do say that they have, they're counting on having multiple copies of your data, which is great. They can recover, and not even really recover, but they can switch to a proper copy if something goes wrong. Data center goes down, they switch over to another copy at some point. But it doesn't solve corruption, so things get corrupted or things, they count on retention. And so retention in Outlook is, they just changed it actually because it was 14 days, and then it would go into, the kind of hidden deleted items that you can find in Outlook, and it'll save for another 90 days. I think the total now is somewhere around 90 days and then an extra month. So
you can make an automatic connected copy of your OST file, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's where there's a gap in Office 365 that I see. Because you have to try and find a way to back your data yourself.
From our side, where we have local clients and local servers, we could have those clients and servers work together and make good copies.
You could, yeah. But if you think about the overhead of that, like the overhead of making something like that happen, especially on a larger enterprise, would be astronomical. You know, if you think about either downloading hundreds of gigabytes or trying to do something on the end user's computer, there's obviously things you can do, and there's lots of people out there that take really clever approaches to solving that problem. But it is still a gap that I see that's out there that hasn't really been filled yet.
We're backing up PST files all the time.
Yep.
But now the OST files are becoming more common. Now it happens that I subscribe to a private shared server, a shared okay, I'm subscribed to a private OS server, and those people back up regularly. We're not talking about Office 365. We're talking about subscribing to a shared server. Those folks back up regularly. Of course, compared to what Office 365 has on Azure, the volumes are tiny.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, they have 200 clients. That's it.
At this point, I don't see it as a reason to stay away from the cloud. I still, as you've seen, I'm in there full force. But it is something that I'm aware of, and it's something that does make me a little bit uneasy sometimes. I mean, I'm hoping that Microsoft is as good as they say in terms of being able to use their retention policies to keep my data safe. But at this point, I just see it as a gap, and I mentioned it's something I talk about, especially with the clients, because it's a very real gap that exists.
Isn't there a way to get a verification whenever there's a backup done?
From Microsoft?
From anywhere. When you do a backup yourself, shouldn't you get a verification? Is there some program that will actually give you that verification capability?
Yeah. Any backup program that is solvable will give you notification back.
So when they're making these duplicates, wouldn't that process also be utilized?
No, because they're using replication. They're not using a backup process. So they're just
So
replicating copies of your data.
They have no idea whether something glitched in the middle of that.
They do. We don't. They do. Yeah. Like they have all that tied into the background, into the back-end fabric of their data centers to look for things that are missing or corrupt and to just discard it, just spew out a new copy of your data. But we just never see that. You know, they could have backups. I've never ever been able to pin somebody from Microsoft down to an actual give me something in black and white that tells me you're backing up my data. I've heard that they back it up, and then I've heard other people from Microsoft say there's no backups. It's just all copies being synchronized. Is that what you done? Yeah. So
I think we have a whole lot more confidence in if we knew that there was a verified backup.
I agree.
And that we would know that at least that's one part of the potential problem that's included in the process.
I agree. Yeah, it's definitely something that I'd love to see one day. But you know, I think they've done really well for themselves. I mean, I don't want to make it seem like this is the thing that tears Microsoft apart, because they maintain the largest implementation of Exchange in the world. If you think about how many millions and millions of people are using Office 365 Exchange, they maintain all of that and they keep it going. And they have, just more and more people going all the time. So put it all together, and I've got confidence in that still.
On the other hand, I would say if it's your business or something that's valuable to you, whether it's like pictures or something, it's incumbent on yourself to not completely trust the cloud. Like, buy a WD, 4 terabyte drive from Costco for, $100.
No, yeah.
The bottom line,
$100 for two or something.
yeah. And you know, in case of a disaster in your house, like make a copy, put it in an inbox place. You know, it's not that hard.
I mean,
Get a 32 gig and you know, stick it in your safe deposit box.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
Read those things as you know, you cannot. I mean, they would have all kinds of literature that says you can rely on it, but at the end of the day, it's your stuff. And
I agree.
Again, you could just say, please.
Yeah. I mean, all of us here are technical people, right? We know that you have to have more than one copy of your data. If you're relying on one copy of your data for everything, then it's a bad idea, man. I remember my dad has floppy disks still tucked away, and he's convinced that those are like the data safe. Those things are like 25 years old. I mean, what are you going to plug those into? You know?
What about 8 floppy disks?
Yeah, do you actually have data on something like that still? I still want to find myself a copy of Windows 98 on like 26 floppy disks. And just kind of just put it there, right? Just like,
Yeah, I've got OS 2 on 28 floppy disks.
yeah, that's going back. So I'm just going to stop a second and say here that it is 8 o'clock already, so I'll keep going. James, cut me off whenever you need to. I know I don't want to.
Jeremy, I got a question.
Sure.
I have several clients, one in particular, where we have set them up using remote desktop onto a very good modern server. And they're accessing that very good modern server with old computers.
Okay.
Some of which are running 7, some of which are running XP. Doesn't really matter because they're just talking to the server.
Right.
All of their data is on the server, including their Microsoft Office documents and their Outlook and everything on the server. So I encourage them, don't do anything with the local computer except web browsing.
Right.
But do everything else on the server, and it's working fine. And the other day, the boss decided that she wanted to try out Office 365. She had one of her minions install Office 365 on the server in her account. And it basically crashed. It didn't crash the whole server, but it crashed her account. She then did some research and discovered some statement from Microsoft that Office 365 does not work with terminal services.
Now, when you say Office 365, are we talking about the Office client that comes in, like Office 2013, that comes from Office 365?
I believe so.
Right. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so this particular client would really, really benefit from having collaboration, especially in calendaring and in document sharing. Otherwise, the good client would send their stuff back and forth. And so I would very much like to have everybody in this office on Office 365. Okay. If you were to go with Office 365 on the old workstations, that would be probably okay, except that then I'd have to install Office on all the workstations.
Well, there's actually a fairly simple solution to that, thankfully. The Office licenses themselves in Office 365, they're licenses like anything else, they're just a license.
Yes.
So the requirement for using Office 365 on the terminal server is that you just need to have a single copy of a volume license media to install it on the server. You can't install the web client, the downloaded version of Office 365 and get the experience to be fine. So if you want to run it on your terminal server, all you have to do is just get a volume license copy, it's a single copy of the media, and you can install it. And your licenses that you pay $6 or $8 or $10 a month for from Microsoft, that's what allows you to use it in everything. So just to physically install it, you just need a volume license media, and then from that you're good to go.
Okay, so whenever I've tried to install volume license media, it has been minimum of 5 licenses on the server. And again, it's just been the full Office that I've installed, so we're looking at around $350 times 5.
Yes, that is if you're buying the licenses. And the only way I've ever found to come around, the only way I've found to get around that is if you have access to download the volume license media legally, like your MSPN or something. I guess MSPN is not legally, because that's supposed to be for development and stuff like that, but Oh, yes, right. But I know we've come across this before, and I don't remember having to buy the 5 licenses.
It also happens that this is a non-profit society. We have been providing them with Microsoft non-profit pricing.
Right.
I've been going to London Drugs, which doesn't put in competition in any way, buying my non-profit licensing through London Drugs and just reselling it.
Okay. Do they qualify for TechSoup? Have you tried that route?
Yeah, TechSoup.
TechSoup.ca, they provide non-profit licensing for a variety of vendors. Okay. And Cisco gives too. Yeah, it's a pretty amazing site. As long as they qualify for funding.
They do absolutely.
Do we do non-profits? I don't know for non-profits, but I think that's probably. I've only been in it for 8 months, so there's still a lot of things that we do that I don't know about yet. I haven't even gotten to the black ops side. I'm too young. But yeah, so TechSoup, I'd say go that route. So you can buy office licenses at, I don't know, has anybody seen it? Like $10, $12 for office licensing? It's just insane how cheap it is. And even if they are a non-profit, they can sign up for non-profit Office 365 licensing. Have you gone that route already?
Haven't tried that yet because we just simply had the one situation where
They want to try that.
did the install, said, "Oh, it's broken, please fix it." Right. I went in and did the uninstall, it fixed everything, put everything back the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
But I can see very, very clearly that this organization really needs Office 365 throughout.
Yeah.
And I'd like to be able to do it for them.
Microsoft offers free licensing for Office 365 for nonprofits, and that's the E1 level, which does not include a full version of Office. It includes all the web versions, as well as Exchange and SharePoint and Lync, like full gamut of Office 365 for free. And then the next one up, the E3 licensing that comes with the full version of Office is, I forget now, it's like $5 or $6. $5 actually, it's $5 per month. Per month per user. Yeah, that's what I remember too. So, the free license will probably work for some.
They can afford the $5 per month per user. They're reasonably well funded, although I'm very careful how I spend the money.
Of course, yeah.
And
I'd say combining that with TechSoup to get the media and like the license to install it that you need would probably be enough to get you through the hoop of that. But bear in mind though that running running Outlook on a terminal server can get tricky, especially when you're connecting to Office 365, because you can't have offline files, you can't have OSTs on a terminal server. And we've done a few implementations with that, and as long as you've got a good solid connection to Office 365, things are fine. But and I know there are ways around it, and you can kind of force the operating system to take OSTs and allow you to go on offline mode. But typically for a terminal server, you have to be running out an online mode only. And if everything isn't just perfect in your environment, it gets a little hairy. But
why would you run out of
it just depends on the use case. Not everybody wants to run it like that. I mean, if they're running a scenario like what you're talking about, it sounds like everything is being done on the terminal server, and really their local computers are not really used for much at all.
the local computers are used for very little except for doing the web browsing. I encourage them to do the web browsing on local computers. Rather than the server, of course, you don't want to get the web server.
Yeah.
So far, we've been lucky for the last 3-4 years, and have had very little problems in that respect. But I really want to move forward with these guys, so I made the contact.
You might even find too that that you can try having them use the entire experience in the browser, using Outlook Web Access, using Office in the browser. Okay. That actually ties into the next slide perfectly. The browser is king. This is where Office 365 is really leading the way. It's in the browser. That experience. So we talked about Outlook Web Access a few times. We're talking about Yammer and all these different things and how they tie together. the experience in the browser is so close to having the actual applications, and in some cases better, because there's things you can do in the browser that you can't do in Outlook. That this is where Microsoft is driving all of their innovation. This is where all the new features are coming, and eventually Outlook will pick some things up. And there are some things that here
Well, the hard factor is you can't back up the data.
Pardon?
The hard factor would seem to be you can't back up that data.
Yeah, but again, taking it with that grain of salt, that I don't like saying, oh, they've been doing fine so far, I'm sure it'll all be fine. That seems like a kind of scary approach to take. But again, they are doing a really good job of holding on to people's data and keeping everything running, and their data centers are phenomenal. They're doing good work. So in that regard, you can do the entire experience in the browser, and given with Office 365, you can connect it with PowerShell, and you can you can do things with it that maybe pull data out of it if you need to, and do all kinds of scripting things. If you need to, if that's really a huge concern, and you've got to have a copy of your data, even if you're moving all of your users to the browser, you can still have ways of getting at your data and getting it tucked away. So it doesn't have to be the barrier to entry.
Question for you. We're talking about data. We're talking about Exchange data or Office file or what?
We're talking about all of it. Exchange data primarily.
Because for regular user files, that's implemented in OneDrive, right?
Yeah.
So if you install the OneDrive file, you automatically replicate it.
You hope. Not necessarily. You hope. You could be, and in most cases you probably are.
Unless you work strictly through a web browser. I'm an Office 365 user, right? Everything gets sucked down by OneDrive.
But then, unless you have specific users who are synchronizing your entire SharePoint, your entire SharePoint environment, you're not necessarily going to get everything that way. Everything that's in your OneDrive is definitely being synced down to your computer, and that's one thing.
SharePoint's just a SQL. And dare I say, just a SharePoint. SQL database.
It's just a SQL database.
Can you think the transaction log shipping out of that?
You don't have access to the back end. It's their servers, right? Like, they're not going to give you the keys to the kingdom and go play around in their data centers. They're presenting you with a service that you can do some things with, and they have APIs and they have PowerShell and things like that. You can connect to it and pull stuff out and do things with. But no, you're not getting into the back end to do farm level stuff or jumping into SQL.
Fair enough. So I can understand the Exchange mailbox, the replication of OS. And the OneDrive you can replicate to the OneDrive client. But how to replicate like SharePoint? At the end of the day, that's the one I don't understand. Like every other data is possible.
Not being a SharePoint guru myself, the way that I would think of doing it would be through scripting it, programmatically accessing the libraries and exporting the data or copying it to folders that are somewhere else, like somewhere in your control, hard drive or something like that.
I work for a company that does all of that. So we've got two solutions, one that does migration and one with log master data. And then we've got another replication solution that syncs the data and has one on-premise and cloud.
There you go. That's good to know. That's right. Outlook Web Access, I think we've talked about the majority of these features already, and I do have more to talk about them as well. But features like clutter, anybody heard of that yet? Heard of clutter? It's only in Outlook Web Access. Maybe it'll show up in Outlook one day, but it's definitely not there now. Clutter. 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 Like all those things lying on the ground, clutter. I don't know why they don't call it. No, it's actually not what it sounds. They should call it declutter, but they call it clutter. I don't know why. It's in code names still. They'll change it at some point and call it something fancy. But clutter basically uses machine learning, and they're just throwing all of their big Azure power at this thing to look at how you access your email and see how you prioritize things. And it's like, they use the example of saying, somebody sent you pictures from their vacation 2 weeks ago and you still haven't opened it. Well, they can see that that's not very important to you. But your boss sends you an email and it's got a budget attached to it, and you open it right away. So they use this over a period of time to say the emails that you don't access frequently, newsletters and things, Dahl, all these things that come into our inbox every single day that aren't necessarily junk mail. They just hide them away from you. So you have, it's like junk mail, but it's for like legit email. So you have a folder called clutter, or this little section, and you click on it and it shows everything that's in there. And like junk, you can say, no, this isn't clutter. I really do mean to look at those pictures from your vacation from 2 weeks ago. I promise I will. But it learns from you how you use your email. And so your inbox becomes a lot emptier. And it's the things that are important. Kind of like how Gmail does their priority inbox. Same kind of idea, but just the way.
Turn off that feature if you don't like it.
I don't think so. You know, it's funny because I was looking for it to try and demo it for you guys, and I couldn't get it. It's not in my tenancy, and I have the first release stuff turned on, and I have a demo tenancy that I spun up to try and show you guys some stuff, and it's not there. So I was very disappointed. I don't know how to turn it on, so I don't know how to turn it off either. But it's new and exciting, and I want it, now. I'll figure out how to turn it off when it doesn't work for me. But you know, things like that, cool features, and they're putting them out in the browser. That they're not putting it out as an update to Outlook. Maybe one day they will. Maybe it'll come up as an Outlook, as an update, you know, months down the road. But it's in the browser, and once they roll it out, it'll be available for everybody.
Maybe they should market it as part of backup for us people with dementia or Alzheimer's memory problems.
To just back everything up to you.
The things that we couldn't find or didn't forgot about and missed over. We can just go back into there and that's right, I should have done that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Dahl and Office Graph actually go into that because Dahl takes you away from searching for stuff, and it brings information to you that you need it, even though you don't think you need it. It's kind of a funny way to say it, but it's like they use this machine learning, this heavy data crunching stuff they've got going on in the background to figure out stuff that you need to have access to. And Office Graph is a really cool web of how everything connects. And I do have a slide on that to talk more about it. But Delve is a feature that is only available in the web clients. I don't know if it will ever come to Outlook. I doubt it will. I don't think it can be. I think it can be done as an application, a separate app. But if you think about how many apps we have on our computer and how many apps we really want to use, and I just want to use Outlook. I just want to use my email and just have everything there. And in that case, browser's king. It's just you open Office 365 in the browser and your taskbar at the top. You've got Outlook, you've got Lync, you've got SharePoint, you've got OneDrive. Everything is there. Delve is there. All these things, all these new features that they put out, they put them out there. And eventually they'll trickle them down to Outlook or the Office client. But you know, for Office 365, using the browser is not a bad thing. It's going to be where you're going to get the freshest, you know, the tightest experience overall. Now, I have my next few slides are just kind of success with Office 365 in general, and just kind of the different technologies, and it's just really tips and tricks and things that I think about with it. And so I'll just kind of go through these pretty quickly here. So Office 365, it's been around since it was called VPOS, and this is where everything is from Microsoft. If they were putting all their eggs in one basket, this would be it. The cloud is where they're pushing going forward. So it's for us as techs to learn about it, even if you're not working with it day to day. Stay relevant with it, and you know, like I said earlier, don't be afraid of it, because the stuff that's happening isn't making us go away as IT consultants and technicians. In fact, it's just making more opportunities available for us because people don't know what cloud is, right? And that's an opportunity for us to stay relevant and stay up on it. I said earlier, email exchange. That's the reason why I would say maybe 75% of statistics are made up on the spot. I'm going to say 90% of people who go to the Office 365 go for email. Because it's just. What was DDoS stand for? I don't remember. It's a long time ago. It was before my time.
Productivity.
I've seen it. Right. There you go.
What's the second one?
Business Productivity Online Solutions. And he said it with enough confidence that I'm not even going to look it up. I'm just going to believe it. Close enough, man. And again, I've covered this before, so I won't go in depth. But people get in there for email, and then it's like, oh, what's this link thing? Oh, SharePoint. We have OneDrive. We have a terabyte of space. Everybody gets a terabyte. I always picture this like Oprah Winfrey. You get a terabyte. You get a terabyte. Everybody gets a terabyte. Screaming and crying, running away with their terabytes of data.
I'd rather have a new car.
Me too. I agree. Lync. If you're somebody who uses Lync on a day-to-day basis, you know what I'm talking about right away. You get an email from somebody in Outlook, and you can tell whether that person's online. You know right away. There's a green dot beside the name. There's a yellow dot. They're away. There's a red dot. They're busy, or a gray dot. They're offline. That presence tied into Outlook, tied into SharePoint, tied into Office on a whole. Lync just ties that all together. Sign out of Lync and close it down, and that all goes away. Can't tell what you see it. You're blind. Is that person online? I don't know. Are they there? I don't know. I can't see anything. This is what Lync does for you, and it's a way to give an easy win, because a lot of people, if you sell it and say, oh, it's messy with Skype. I don't want my people sitting there chatting with each other at their desk. They should be working. You start to show stuff like this, and you start to show things like being able to share screens and work on documents together and whiteboard and all these things, and all of a sudden it becomes a win, and it's already there. You're paying for email in most people's cases, and all of a sudden you have this extra technology that actually can solve some legitimate business functions. It's great.
One thing about Lync, it also works with Skype.
Yes, and that is true, and that's a good feature too. And it actually ties in with Google Talks. Google Talks, I guess it's Hangouts now, isn't it?
One of the both.
Yeah.
Hangouts is the new one.
So Google Talks is still around?
I haven't used it.
Should be. Lync can tie in with Google Talk. It can tie in. I believe it even ties in AOL of all things. I have no idea why. I didn't even think.
AOL?
I don't know. Maybe Tom Hanks does. Who knows? But Lync will tie in all, and so you can have Lync set up, and you can federate with Skype, Google Talk, and all kind. And I know businesses where everybody's using Google Talk, and that's just kind of their chat client. Yeah, Lync will do that as well. OneDrive for Business, we talked about that already. Office 365, again, I've talked about this a few times. It's a connected solution. Everything is an ecosystem, right? It's all these pieces that tie together. It's not just email. It's email tying in with social, tying in with chat, tying in with SharePoint. It's really a big picture. And again, that's one of the things that really excites me about it. And I don't think I put this on here, but I have it in my notes. I'll mention this first. I originally wrote this out as connect everybody to everything, but that's not a good idea. You have to use common sense when connecting people to Office 365 services. I've made a mistake in the past of trying to push too much at once, and then it just kind of back off. Oh, like this stupid. We want to uninstall on everybody's computer. Like, oh, we'll never use SharePoint. All these services, they just kind of turn off because they don't see the business sense for it. So, like anything else, find the business case for the services and implement them that way. Say, this is something that solves this need, and go from there. And then, above all else, never underestimate the need for training. The worst thing you can do with any kind of technology, especially something as big as this, is just throw people at it and accept them and figure it out. I've seen SharePoint implementations where people just hate it. It's just, SharePoint sucks. Everybody hates SharePoint. And I've seen SharePoint implemented properly, and it is hands down the best experience I've ever had with technology like that when it's implemented properly. Oh, and they do have Office 365 admin guides available, and I have linked them in the end of the slide. How are we for time, James? 5 minutes? Sweet, I've got literally half of my slides I have to go. So how about if we decide what we really want to get to here? Just start hitting buttons and talking fast. I actually want to show you guys some demos, but I don't have time for that. So I'll skip through this pretty quickly. SharePoint, give people OneDrive, profiles, fun things like that. SharePoint, the more information you put into it in the sense of filling out your profile and things you've done and things that your skill sets and things like that, it unlocks a really cool feature in SharePoint where you can search for a skill set and find people, and you can search for somebody that has experience with a certain product or technology, and you can find somebody. It's obviously a less important if you're a small company. I mean, the company can use 10 people, so I could very quickly find out who did what. But the company I'm working for now is 1,200 people, and finding somebody who knows a certain technology is not necessarily easy. But if you have this information in SharePoint, you can search for, who does Exchange 2015. I can pull the list of people, and I can start interacting with them. And that's great. Send links. We talked about this in OneDrive. No more documents going everywhere. One version of the truth. You start showing this to people, you can say, look, we're going to do away with having 35 copies of that document and not knowing which one is current, and having version 1.2, 0.3, 0.5, 0.6. We're going to have one copy, and having versioning turned on. So we can say, oh, somebody screwed the document up? No problem. Let's just back it up. 2 versions. Boom, everything's back. And you're the rock star. Because you fixed the problem. Because all of a sudden, something that was a big deal before, where somebody messed up the document and there's no other copy that has it, just like 2 changes before, versioning in SharePoint has that. Yammer, Enterprise Social, again, it's a big push. It's happening slowly. It honestly requires the right people to buy into it. Yammer, I find when it's implemented in businesses, is usually by the tech people that want to try something cool, or maybe somebody from marketing who, like, this is the coolest thing. It just ties in with all the social media and hashtags, and you can, use the @ symbol and talk to people. And if it's not implemented properly, people are just going to give up on it. If it's done properly, it can work, and you'll see how well it ties into other things. But if not, then it'll just be stagnant and stop being used altogether. Lync, we talked about already. Get people using Lync. Lync is awesome. Show them how to share screens and stuff. Oh, OneDrive. I'll take a few minutes on this because this is literally the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is definitely worth talking about for a few minutes. So OneDrive Personal, we talked about it. It's great. It works really well. 15 gigs for free. The second OneDrive product, just called OneDrive, replaces My Sites in SharePoint, and it is that's your terabyte. That's where you have your document library, your home drive, whatever you want to call it in the cloud. And that's also called OneDrive. And then OneDrive Business, or OneDrive for Business, is the sync client that pulls that all down to your computer, hopefully. Now, OneDrive for Business is really the ugly part of this equation, because it has been plagued with a lot of troubles over the last few months with synchronizing, more specifically not synchronizing, and having problems with file types, and having problems with file names, and having problems with file length, and having all kinds of problems. And it's bad enough that most people that have interaction with OneDrive for Business just tell people not to use it. And most MVPs that I've talked to are the same, because it's just so bad. The good side of that is Microsoft is working really hard to fix that, and I'm hoping over the next couple of weeks or months that we'll start seeing changes that will actually make it as good as OneDrive is, and better, hopefully, because of the other features they add to it.
It's really not hard to do. I think one guy is responsible for BitTorrent.
I don't know if it's quite the same. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, Microsoft is a huge company. They've got guys that they're throwing at the problem to fix it, and they've actually, I've heard talk of them merging the teams to get the OneDrive for Business guys working together. So hopefully it'll fix it. But OneDrive has just been a huge confusion because, like I said, it's 3 products called OneDrive and all different things. But they're working on it and it's getting better. So don't give up on it yet.
That's the Microsoft thing. You always use the same name for something.
That's right. Sharing with OneDrive for Business. Let's skip our way past this. I think we've talked about this a few times. I'll talk about this really briefly since my 5 minutes is up 3 minutes ago. The Office graph, you can't see these things on the screen here, of course, because it's too small. But basically, it tracks all of your different interactions in the Office 365 ecosystem. In the sense that, I'll have to read some of these here. Things that are presented to me, who I report to, things that I like, people I work with. I I viewed these files. Other people are viewing this trending. This is my manager. This is shared with me. And it takes all of these things and it presents you information based on that. And they're very clear that they make a very clear distinction between what's private and what's public. So if I send you an email and about something confidential, that doesn't get surfaced here because it's private. But if I like something on Yammer, then that's a public like, and that gets surfaced on here. If I go to a meeting and somebody presents a PowerPoint in that meeting, that PowerPoint is surfaced in Dahl for me to come back to later because it knows that I was at a meeting that this other person was at and this other person presented a PowerPoint, and so that's available. It's that kind of mumbo jumbo magic in the background that makes this for me an exciting product. I have it on my tenancy, and I tried desperately to get a demo for you guys, but because I'm the only one that uses it, there's nothing. It's completely empty, and it even gives me a little frowny face. It's like it's lonely in here. It literally says it's lonely in here. I tried to create some more users and add them to it, and unfortunately it takes too much time for that stuff to get in there for you really to see it. But I would encourage you to take a look at it. When you're looking at it in the application, you can see buttons like that, like what's been presented to me, what's been shared with me, and it presents you in the home page just a very logical. It's like it actually figures out what you want to see and brings that information up close. In the browser, when you see it, it shows you what you're currently working on, and it rather than searching for where you save this file, it's just right there for you. And I'm excited about what that means for the future. Other information, people, conversations, and there we go. Then what's time? Almost at the end. For this one.
Is that going to be available?
Yeah, I'm making it available. James, the slide deck will be available when I'm done here, so you guys can grab these links. The admin guides on the Office Ignite Labs, highly recommend them. The Customer Success Center and the admin guides, they've done a good job of giving business case scenarios and how to administer different things and how to work with the different technologies. And Dell and Office Graph, again, it's super new and exciting, and maybe we'll never see it implemented on a grand scale, but at the same time, I think what they're doing is pretty cool. And that's all I've got.